Ever get that sharp, stabbing pain in your heel?
Yeah,
Yeah, that could be plantar fasciitis, and it's not a fun welcome mat.
right.
1 in 10 people experience it, so you're definitely not alone.
Wow.
You've been researching if barefoot shoes could help, so today let's deep dive into whether they're a miracle cure or just hype.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a question we've been getting a lot lately, especially with so many people trying to, like, reconnect with more natural movement.
Right, it makes sense. Okay, so when I say barefoot shoes, I don't mean those, what were those sandals that Romans wore?
Right.
We need to define barefoot shoes for the 21st century.
Yeah, so imagine, like, those shoes with the individual toes.
Yeah.
Those are minimalist. Barefoot shoes take it a step further, like they have minimal cushioning, a super thin sole, and they're all about just letting your foot move as naturally as possible.
And this all ties back to the barefoot running trend from a few years ago, right? All those articles about people ditching their shoes for marathons, like the whole "our ancestors ran barefoot, so should we" thing.
It's interesting, yeah, this concept of evolutionary mismatch. Basically, that our feet evolved over millions of years to handle a certain way of moving, mainly on natural surfaces like dirt and grass.
Right.
But then we invented shoes, concrete, and those super cushioned sneakers, and that's totally changed how our feet function.
So are you saying my comfy sneakers could be the culprit here?
Well, it's not quite that simple, but there is a growing body of research looking at how modern footwear might be contributing to foot problems.
Okay.
For example, have you ever heard of footprint forensics?
It sounds vaguely criminal.
It's not about solving crimes,
Yeah.
but it is about analyzing footprints. So experts can look at your footprint and tell a lot about your gait, your weight distribution, even potential muscle imbalances.
Mm-hmm.
And some researchers believe that wearing barefoot shoes over time could actually change those footprint patterns, indicating a shift in how your feet are moving and functioning.
Wow, that's incredible. So by ditching the thick soles and support, are we essentially retraining our feet to work the way they were designed to?
That's the idea. It's about activating those often neglected intrinsic foot muscles, the ones that are responsible for maintaining your arches and providing natural shock absorption. When we rely too much on supportive shoes, those muscles can weaken and, it can lead to issues.
So it's like we have a built-in support system that we've just let go to waste.
Exactly.
So barefoot shoes are like boot camp for our feet.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. It's not just about strengthening the muscles themselves, but barefoot shoes also enhance something called proprioception.
Proprio what now? Don't worry, I'm sure our listeners are right there with me, needing a little help on that one.
So proprioception, it's like, think of it as your body's internal GPS for movement.
Okay.
It's how your brain knows where your feet are in space without you having to look down.
Right.
Barefoot shoes. They allow for more sensory feedback from the ground,
Yeah.
which basically gives your brain a clearer signal and it improves that whole mind-foot connection.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So more feedback equals better control.
Exactly.
But how does that tie back into plantar fasciitis?
When you have better proprioception, you're more likely to have better foot placement when you walk or run. So instead of overpronating, which is when your foot kind of rolls inward too much and puts stress on the plantar fascia,
Right.
you're moving in a more balanced and efficient way.
So it's like having a built-in stability system
Exactly.
on top of stronger foot muscles. It's a win-win.
Exactly.
But speaking of wins, let's talk about the potential downsides.
Yeah.
There have to be some, right? Especially for someone who's already dealing with plantar fasciitis pain.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Like any change in routine, it's not one size fits all.
Right.
And there are definitely things to be cautious about.
Okay. Caution flag raised. What should we be watching out for?
The biggest thing is the transition.
Okay.
You can't just go from wearing, your comfy cushioned shoes to barefoot shoes overnight
Right.
and expect your feet to be happy about it.
Of course not.
Yeah. Remember those intrinsic foot muscles we talked about?
Yeah.
They may be weak from years of not being fully utilized.
So it's like asking someone to run a marathon after they've been mostly sitting on the couch for a year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why a gradual transition is key.
Okay.
Start with short periods wearing barefoot shoes around the house, and then gradually increase the duration and intensity.
Got it. Slow and steady.
Exactly.
What up?
Another factor is the lack of cushioning.
Right.
While that's kind of the whole point of barefoot shoes, to allow for that natural foot movement,
Yeah.
it can be an adjustment, especially for someone with plantar fasciitis.
Right.
Walking or running on hard surfaces without that extra padding can be jarring at first.
It's like swapping out your memory foam mattress for a yoga mat.
Yeah.
Your body's going to need some time to adjust.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah,
And then there's also the question of individual foot structure.
right. Different people need different things.
Exactly. Someone with high arches, for example, might need more support than a barefoot shoe can provide.
So this is where seeing a podiatrist or another foot professional would be a good idea.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
A podiatrist can really assess your foot type, how severe your plantar fasciitis is,
Hmm.
and give you personalized recommendations.
So important.
Yeah, they might suggest, doing specific exercises to strengthen your feet before transitioning to barefoot shoes.
Okay.
Or they might even advise against them altogether,
Mm.
depending on your specific situation.
Which reminds me of a story I read about a postman, and he had plantar fasciitis and thought, barefoot shoes, those will help. Yeah, so he dove in head first, wore them on his entire route the next day,
Oh, no.
and ended up making his plantar fasciitis way worse. He had to take time off work. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
classic case of too much too soon.
Exactly. You got to listen to your body.
For sure, start slowly, seek expert advice when you need it.
Absolutely.
So we've covered the potential benefits, the risks, the need for a gradual transition, and the importance of professional guidance. But now for the million-dollar question, what does the research actually say about barefoot shoes and plantar fasciitis?
That's what we're here to unpack, right?
Exactly.
There have been some promising studies, but the research is still emerging,
Okay.
which is important to keep in mind.
So give us the highlights. What have researchers found so far?
Well, one study found that runners with plantar fasciitis who switched to barefoot running for 6 months actually saw a significant decrease in pain compared to those who continued wearing conventional running shoes.
Interesting. Okay.
And they believe this was due to, the strengthening of the foot muscles and those improved mechanics that we were talking about.
That's encouraging, but you said one study. Are there others that contradict that?
There are. Some studies have shown less conclusive results, with barefoot shoes having no significant impact on plantar fasciitis pain.
Okay.
It's important to note that a lot of these studies have limitations, such as small sample sizes or variations in methodology, which makes it tough to draw any definitive conclusions.
Okay, so it's not a simple yes or no answer. There's evidence to support both sides.
Exactly. It highlights the need for more research, particularly large-scale, long-term studies that can give us a clearer picture of, the benefits and risks of barefoot shoes for plantar fasciitis.
And that's often the case with these health and wellness trends.
Right.
It takes time for science to catch up.
Yeah.
So for someone listening who's dealing with that pain and is curious about barefoot shoes, what are they supposed to do with all this information?
It's a great question, right? Let's break it down into some practical takeaways.
Okay, I like it. Knowledge is power. So for someone listening right now thinking, okay, should I try barefoot shoes? What are the top 2 or 3 things to consider?
It all starts with know thyself, or, know your feet. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to consult with a podiatrist.
Yeah.
They can really look at your foot structure, assess your plantar fasciitis, and give you personalized advice.
It's like that old saying, if the shoe fits. Although in this case, it's more like if the lack of shoe fits.
Exactly. They can help you figure out if barefoot shoes are a good fit for you, or if there are other things you should be trying first.
Makes sense. And number 2 on our list of barefoot wisdom.
Channel your inner tortoise, not the hare.
Okay.
It's all about that gradual transition. Even if your podiatrist gives you the thumbs up, you don't want to go from zero to barefoot hero overnight.
Start slowly, listen to your body.
Mm.
It's all sounding very zen and mindful, which I like.
It's the best approach. Maybe just wear barefoot shoes around the house for a bit each day, then gradually increase the time and intensity.
Okay. And would you believe it? Our third point nicely complements that whole listen to your body vibe. It's all about those foot exercises.
Yes. Strengthening those intrinsic foot muscles can make a world of difference, whether you go full-on barefoot or not.
So we're talking toe curls, marble pickups, things like that. Maybe we need a whole other deep dive just on foot fitness.
Now there's an idea. But seriously, those exercises, combined with stretching, can help improve flexibility, build strength, and just better prepare your feet for the demands of barefoot shoes, or any shoes for that matter.
Right. It's about taking a holistic approach, looking at our footwear choices, our movement patterns, and really understanding how all of that impacts our foot health.
Well said, and I think that's a perfect note to end on. It's been great exploring this topic with you.
This deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about, and maybe even a reason to finally try those barefoot shoes I've had my eye on.
Just remember, everything we talked about, start slowly, Listen to your body and don't hesitate to reach out to a healthcare professional if you have any questions or concerns.
Great advice. And for our listeners, if this deep dive has piqued your curiosity, remember there's a whole world of information out there waiting to be explored.
Keep asking those questions, keep those feet happy, and we'll catch you on the flip side for another fascinating deep dive.
Until then, keep exploring.